Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Apollo Justice is Attorney. Today, we are starting the first trial. What am I gonna say? Yeah, Brushel. We're gonna interrogate Spark Brushel. October 8th, 9:38 a.m., District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 6. Good morning.
So, you're Vera, right? I'm Trucy, right. That's right with a W, but not right? We're on your side. You can tell us anything, please? Good morning.
She speaks.
Not bad. But I think you do better with a little smile, you know? You're so pretty. You need to sell yourself, you know?
Trucy, let's take it easy for starters.
Thank you for taking my case.
Okay, well, that's a start, I guess. There she goes with the nail polish again.
That's great, really! It's so cultured. Want to try? Ooh, really?
Girls. The victim, Drew Mission, was a forger. And a stolen painting was found in his studio. A life of crime, really. Maybe one that led to his death. October 8th, 10 a.m., District Court, Courtroom Number 3. Well, we will now begin the trial of Vera Misham.
Is the judge okay? His voice is all raspy. And he's looking around all nervous like.
The repercussions of today's trial will most likely be felt for a long time. It may indeed alter our legal system forever. Today is a test of the justice system, and the first step toward a new order in our courts.
Betty's secret mission!
The jurists will function like a jury. It is hoped their inclusion will help this court to better reflect the people's will. Why aren't there any jurists in the courtroom? 3 closed-circuit cameras watch this courtroom at all times. The jurists have access to everything that transpires. Jurists! Judge Vel and Judge Cruel. Now see here, Prosecutor Gavin. I was going to say that. My apologies, Judge. Jurists, today, Judge, today's trial coolly, if you would be so kind. Jurists are unbound by the letter of the law. They don't affect the trial with evidence, but by their feelings. And we're about to find out what effect they're going to have. Very well, Prosecutor Gavin. The details of the case, if you would. The victim is the painter Drew Mission. He was killed in his own studio. His coffee was poisoned. And by whom, you ask? By none other than the defendant Vera Mission. There wasn't any poison in the coffee. Tim, someone has been doing the homework. The poison was not present in the coffee, but on the mug itself. The mug? Residue was found on the rim, I see. The autopsy report describes the manner of our victim's death. The court accepts this as evidence. Misham's autopsy report added with the court record. According to this report, type the committee revenue by prosecutor Gavin. Death by actual quinine poisoning. Estimated time of death 9 to 9:30 p.m. Victim's name Drew Mission, age 52, male. Time of death October 6th, between 9 and 9:30 p.m. Cause of death actual quinine poisoning. The victim's death was caused by actual quinine poisoning, a chemical compound that does not occur naturally. The lethal dosage is a mere 0.002 milligrams. A touch of actual quinine in the body is a touch of the Reaper's scythe. Very well, Prosecutor Gavin, you may present your witness. I have for you today a simple man for a simple case. A man who witnessed the murder in its entirety. The journalist, no doubt. The witness will state his name and occupation. Ah, right. Well, for starters, my name is Spark Threshold, and my job is a lone observer of the world. In other words, a freelance journalist, right? If you don't mind, I'd like to state something here for the record. Yes, Mr. Threshold. I dislike conclusions, specifically the jumping to aspect of conclusions. Preconceptions make park sandbox of endless desert waste, end quote. But you are a journalist. You said so yourself yesterday. Well, that's true, yes. But you must understand I stand before you today a man with a dream. I did not read Threshold's thing, I don't think. Spark Threshold, age 36, gender male, freelance journalist, can smell a scoop from miles away. Valant Grammar, age 44, gender male, popular distribution. His overly loquacious manner can be annoying, MSI, munition, Clever Gavin, age 24, gender male, star prosecutor, and lead vocalist for the rock group The Gavins. I'm offering you my testimony in exchange for exclusive rights to the story. Who turns Mr. Breshel into that Mr. Breshel, end quote. Let's hear your testimony then, shall we? A simple case, eh, Gavin? For me, the jury is still out. The journalist's story. I visited the studio around 9 o'clock that night to do the interview. The first outsider to enter the atelier. Journalistic history made, end quote. His daughter brought us coffee right after we started. And you know what happened next? Star falls, end quote. No one else entered the room besides her the whole time. That does sound like a simple case. Unless you're the one who poisoned him. What are you saying, Judge? Need I remind you, the cameras are rolling today. I felt the need to be a bit dramatic. You didn't do it, did you? Me do a thing like that? Come on, that's like a newsmaker making the news, end quote. Or even contemporary witch hunt, end quote. I know, wild accusations rock courtroom, end quote. Rockin' zids. Prosecutor Gavin sure looks like he's having fun. I'm so happy for him. Very well. Mr. Justice, your cross-examination, please. I visited the studio around 9 o'clock that night to do the interview. 9 o'clock at night. Isn't that a little late for an interview? The great painter Drew Misham says come at 9. Believe you me, I go at 9. The first and, as it turned out, last interview with such a prolific painter. Right. Can you tell us what it was like when you arrived? The first outsider to enter the atelier. Journalistic history made, end quote. You're the first reporter ever in Drew's studio. Posterity will look back on that night as a turning point in journalistic history. A basically insignificant step for all mankind, but a giant step for that Breshel guy, end quote. What the fuck? I love this man. If no one on the outside ever had access to the studio, then it would serve to reason that the deed was done by an insider. By which means Vera did it. So, how did this epoch-making interview go? Oh. His daughter brought us coffee right after we started. Would you mind being a little more specific? Ooh-wee, let me tell you, I enjoyed cover. In fact, it all began when I was in 3rd grade. No, wait, 4th grade. That's not what I meant. I believe I know what our forehead is driving at. This coffee the victim was served. Did anyone other than the defendant touch it? Right. That's what I was going to say. Really. Well now, if you've got a question to ask, you best straight up ask it. That's what I tell all the new recruits, several times if necessary. Write for a grade score. That's my motto. Which isn't to say... Who touched the coffee? Paula, why'd you have to interrupt him? Dunno. I was in the back, looking at the studio's equipment when she served it. And what happened next? You know what happened next? Star falls, end quote. What's this about a star falling?
Star falls, huh? It's like an old telegram. Send money, over.
Zowie, you don't know? That's like a journalism code word. An important personage passes away. So star falls, get it?
But there's no gravity in space, is there? I wouldn't think stars could fall, really.
Does this matter? Oh boy, this is good stuff. How about star breaks? Max punch. I know. Star dies. Max imagination. Of course, you could go with Drew dies, straight to the point. I don't like it. I think we need to hear about something a little more substantial. What? About when Misham passed away. Oh boy, what a scene that was. He puts his coffee mug down with a crash, right? Yes, and then the cold finger of death touches his spine. Life's flame sputters and fails. So cold was that touch he could do naught but tremble uncontrollably. Actually, life's flame is a little tired. Life's river froze over. Yes, that's a go.
I think he's starting his article already.
Could you describe that a little more simply? Well, as you can imagine, I was pretty surprised. He hit the floor, as they say. Artist Caesar's final performance, end quote. Atroconin paralyzes the central nervous system. The body arches back like a bow. God damn it! Why? Why do you keep interrupting me? That's quite enough of that. Some of us want to be able to sleep tonight. Oh yeah? Well, I want details. Lots of juicy details. For that you can listen to our last year's hit single, Atroconin, My Love, by the Governors, available at all major music outlets. Wasn't one of them a murderer? The point here is that the victim died of atroquinine poisoning. Well, Mr. Justice, how did you find that testimony? Well, as an account of the moment of the victim's death, I'd say it's very important. Please add it to the testimony. Very well. The court requests the testimony add this account to the witness add his account to his testimony. Oh, spasms. That was definitely death by poison. You say it was definitely death by poison. How can you be so sure? Hey, look, I'm a journalist. I've seen a lot of things. And I've had more than my share of experiences with so-called poisonings. Man eats fishy fish. Goes bye-bye. End quote. Poisoning doesn't count. Should I get to talk about something else? So, you drink the coffee that Vera served you too? Of course. When someone serves your coffee, you drink it. That's what my old boss always used to say. Never did get what he meant by it, though. But you're still alive, which is to say you didn't die.
Of course not. No point in falling for your star, end quote.
That's not exactly what I was getting at.
What were you getting at then?
You know the poison was on the vin, not in the coffee.
Oh, yes, yes. There were 2 cups on the tray she brought, and one of the cups had Drew's signature painted on the side.
No chance to guess would take that one by mistake, I guess.
Well, Mr. Justice, was that testimony important?
Talking about the coffee the witness drank, I'd say that is important.
Very well, please add that to your testimony, Mr. Brashel. I drank the coffee too, but I'm not dead yet.
You're sure you drank the coffee?
Oh yes, yes, quite. I gulped it down and felt that sweet scorch in my throat.
But you said the victim took one sip and fell over. And you still kept drinking.
Of course. Drink your coffee when it's hot, never when it's not. That's what my old boss used to always say. Never really knew what he meant by it.
Should I get him to talk about something else? You say Mr. Misham had the coffee too. But did you actually see him drink the coffee?
Of course. He who sees it wins, but he who says it wins bigger. End quote. I live in a man sees dog eat dog and writes about it world, yet. I guess I can't say I saw him drink it, really. He had one so-called sip, if that. Man puts lips to mug. Drinks, end quote. That poison is quite virulent, I hear. My stomach did a so-called somersault. Since I'd gulped down that coffee without so much as a second glance at it. Wait, maybe something's there. Some kind of so-called trick. Anyone want to venture a guess for the record?
Does this guy have a pause button?
Well, Mr. Justice, did you find that testimony valuable?
The victim drank his coffee, then immediately fell over.
Oh yes, yes. You can go to press with that one.
Your Honor, this is a vital piece of information. Please add it to the testimony.
Very well. The witness will add this to his testimony. Vital, right. He had one sip, if that. The next moment, he was on the floor.
So he either took a sip or he didn't, and then fell over.
Oh yes, indubitably. Just like that. Wham bam!
So Mr. Misham drank the coffee and fell over immediately. I think Brushel's telling the truth too. Should I get him to talk about something else? There's no real need to change the testimony. The problem with that testimony is already pretty obvious.
No one else entered the room besides her the whole time.
Can you say that for sure?
For sure? Sure, I'm sure. Drew Studio isn't a big place, kiddo. I know if someone else had come in.
What if they had been hiding in there from before?
Even if someone had been hiding in the studio, they hardly could have poisoned that mug without anyone noticing. You think I, Spark Brushel, would miss something as obvious as that? No way. Sure makes it sound exciting. I guess that's his job.
There's only one moment we need to focus on, really.
Remember when Drew Misham died?
Exactly. There has to be something there. You know what I have a problem with? A particular property of the poison used, atroquinine.
Oh, Prosecutor Gavin was quite clear about the poison. A lethal dosage of 0.002 milligrams paralyzes the central nervous system. If you drank that, even you, Mr. Justice, would be reduced to a quivering pile.
Why are you using me as an example? Unfortunately, we weren't told everything.
Oh yeah, slow acting.
There was a vital omission in Prosecutor Gavin's information.
An omission?
Atropine is as virulent as he says, but that doesn't come upon ingestion. Not immediately. That's because atropine is slow-acting.
Slow-acting? What?
According to one forensic scientist.
It's one of the most virulent poisons, but it's absorbed into the body astonishingly slowly. It takes at least 15 minutes from the time of ingestion for adverse effects to show.
If we suppose that the moment Mr. Misham sipped the coffee was when he sealed his fate, then he would still have had time left to enjoy his last cup of joe. Ah, Russell, what the fuck? You look so weird from the back.
And you look weird from the front, but you look inhuman from the back, I guess. Order! What's the meaning of this? If what the defense says is correct, why? That contradicts the entire testimony we've just heard.
Well, Mr. Brushel, anything to say on the record?
Slow acting. SLOWACT. It was virulent, though. Even then, it had already begun digging its claws into the journalist. He's working on his scoop.
It's Brushel, yeah? Brushel, let's take a trip back down memory lane.
Huh?
Did the victim really die the instant he took a sip? Think it over. This is vital.
You know what I think? I think that was a not-so-subliminal suggestion, end quote.
I admit it does cause a problem if he died when you say he died. I would be forced to say Vedison, I don't know how to say that, to my simple case. And you would be forced to say farewell to your article.
Come again?
You can't write a story based on conjecture, can you? And as the case drags on, other reporters will pick up the scent. And you'll be forced to kiss your exclusive scoop goodbye.
Scoop. Look, wait, just wait. Just 1 second. We're waiting, out with it. I think I just recalled a so-called important detail. A revival of recollection, end quote. A story survival, end quote.
Utterly confused, end quote.
Actually, I did notice something when I visited the studio. I'd heard of poisons that take its sweet time, see?
But not what I've been saying for the last few minutes, apparently.
Mr. Brushel, are you saying you noticed something that explains what happened? You bet I am. The antidote for a poisonous contradiction, end quote, you might say.
Or, I still have no idea what you're talking about, end quote, I might say.
I figured it out, but only after an in-depth interview. See, thanks to my journalism skills, I know who poisoned that coffee. Order!
As far as I can tell, the witness is standing by his testimony that Mr. Misham died the instant after he drank.
Of course I'm standing by my testimony, and my dream of exclusive rights to this story.
I suppose it was too much to hope for. What was? Of course he wouldn't choose a simple case, not him.
Him?
Phoenix Wright, who else? Axon, Brushel, report for us, if you would. What is it that you noticed?
This court is a critical trial of the justice system. I'm afraid no room for doubt is permissible. You will testify to the court about what you noticed. What Brushel noticed? When I arrived at the studio, Mr. Misham was at his desk. He seemed to be writing a letter, but he quickly sealed the envelope. I thought nothing of it at the time, of course. Now that I think about it, what if he was writing a suicide note? A suicide note? Yes, he had this look on his face. Man's face inscrutable as a quadratic equation, end quote. Suicide? Poor Mr. Misham. That means Vera's innocent.
Did someone commit suicide in the middle of an interview?
Ow.
Very well. You may begin your cross-examination. What Prashul noticed.
When I arrived at the studio, Mr. Misham was at his desk.
Was there anyone at the studio other than Mr. Misham?
Well, his daughter Vera, of course.
Was anyone besides Mr. Misham and Vera present?
Not a single one. Not a cat, not a rat, not even a mouse.
The only person who didn't belong to that studio there was you, wasn't it, Mr. Brushel?
I know what you're doing. I know your game. Attorney uses classic Ramsden phenomenon ploy, end quote.
If you intend to suggest that this reporter is a suspect, I'm sure you also intend to present evidence supporting that assertion, correct? In the meantime, let's move along, shall we?
He seemed to be writing a letter, but he quickly sealed the envelope. Envelope. I feel like he would say envelope instead of envelope.
So he put the letter away when he saw you.
Early reporter gets worm, end quote. That's my secret.
I'm not sure I follow.
The night of the interview, I arrive 15 minutes ahead of schedule. The handles turn, the door opens, and I barge in.
Are you sure that's okay to do? I mean, isn't that unlawful entry, really?
Mr. Misham sure seemed to think so. You should have seen him. He crammed his letter into that yellow envelope as fast as he could. I know a secret when I spot one, and that was one.
It does seem significant.
Well, Mr. Justice.
Yellow. I wonder. It does have the ring of something important. The defense finds this testimony vital, Your Honor.
Very well. She's added to the testimony, then. Hey, why not? My account comes free of charge. It was a yellow envelope. I heard it was left at the crime scene.
And you saw him seal this yellow envelope with a letter.
Hey, don't look at me like that. I saw what I saw. Hello, you think this might be?
Our big break, yeah. What I need is to show some decisive evidence now.
I thought nothing of it at the time, of course.
You didn't think anything might be wrong at the time.
Hey, when I go in for an interview, that's what I'm there to do. Interviewer finds looking more effective than caring, end quote.
So what about now? Thinking back on it, did you sense anything strange in Mr. Misham's behavior?
Well, yeah, if that's what I'm telling you. Yeah, that's what I am telling you all this to begin with. Very well, continue your testimony. Now that I think about it, what if he was writing a suicide note?
A suicide note?
Well, yeah, don't quote me or anything. I'm just saying it's a possibility, you know?
So you didn't actually check the letter?
Of course not. It was sealed. Contents of can unknown until can is opened, end quote. Schrodinger's can, end quote.
You can always check the label.
You think Mr. Misham was writing a suicide note?
If he was, I would solve the case in a jiffy.
Kind of makes me wonder about that letter.
Well, obviously.
No, okay. There's only two what? I thought that would have been on the other side. Okay.
As it just so happens, there was a single letter in a desk drawer at the scene. In a red envelope. No, red envelope.
I love this song. What?
Prosecutor Gavin.
Yes?
The yellow envelope found at the scene of the crime.
Unfortunately, no.
But our foreheads? It's easy to mistake the color of an envelope. I guess, but not this envelope. You see, it was postmarked already. 7 years ago.
Well, Mr. Brushel, I can explain that. Drew, right? He wanted to get that letter in an envelope pronto. Get it out of my sight. Get it out of sight of my beady eyes, right? So he grabbed the nearest envelope and crammed away.
And what about the whole red and yellow envelope contradiction, chump?
Well, Mr. Justice, have you anything to say to this witness's claim?
That night, the victim put a letter he had been writing in a red envelope. That's impossible.
Ah, I like your expression. So full of confidence.
It's simple, really. As it just so happens, the defense team investigated the contents of this envelope with the assistance of a forensic scientist.
What?
Note that this letter is addressed to Drew Misham.
Oh!
Why would he address a letter to himself? Let alone send a suicide note to himself.
Okay, what about the fact that it's not a suicide note? I've been scooped! Order, order, order! Mr. Brushel, can you explain this to the court? Oh, my, how could I have forgotten? I suppose this happens to the best of us. Reporter gets old, forgets lots, end quote. I'm still waiting for an explanation, Mr. Brushel. Well, that's the thing, see? After he put his letter in that envelope... This is from the trilogy. I think this is from the second game. This song. Mr. Misham sat there searching his desk drawer for something.
His desk drawer?
Yes, a stamp. A so-called postage stamp, end quote. A stamp? Whatever for? Well, to mail his letter. What else? And then, why, yes, I think I saw him put it in his yellow letterbox. Yes, it was a yellow envelope. And he put it in that box. Well, apparently this yellow letter has nothing to do with the case. Oh, whoa, how I wish it did. Just think if that were a suicide note. What a story. Star writes suicide note in front of reporter. Falls. End quote. As I was saying, that has nothing to do with this case. That said...
Yes, Your Honor.
It makes me wonder about the contents of that red envelope. $100,000 is quite a good deal of money. So this was from 7 years ago, yeah? So, am I finished? Am I finished here? I was thinking of, going home to start writing.
I hate to state what should be pretty obvious to anyone, but when you catch the scent of a story, you make that, rather unique face.
Come on! Attorney has active imagination, little else, end quote. Even I noticed something, and my eyes aren't what they used to be. I'm starting to understand what all this perceiving stuff is about.
Judge has active imagination, end quote.
Please continue with your testimony. Tell us about the scent of a story. Hey, I'm the one asking the questions here, usually.
The scent of a story.
Actually, it took a bit of work to get a thumbs up for the interview. Reporter leverages story, gets his interview, end quote. The story concerned a certain case from 7 years ago. That red envelope probably had something to do with it.
Say what you will, but Drew's talent was without compare. So you threatened to go to the press with this story. That's how you got your interview. Blackmail. Well, yes. I mean, no. I wasn't exactly black. I mean, I'm not, something wrong, Mr. Breschel. Look, this is my story, my tidbit. Journalist's info is livelihood, end quote. I see. Well, you have me chatting away here. What's going on out there? What if some Wally Wordsworth or Sally Scooper gets wind of my story? They could be going to the press while I'm going to waste. The court feels your pain, Mr. Breschel. Mr. Justice, let's pick up the pace. A certain case 7 years ago. Wait, 7 years ago? The scent of a story. Actually, it took a bit of work to get the thumbs up on the interview. The victim, through mission, had an aversion to reporters. Boy, I guess. Not even my considerable charms did much for him. Until I finally got my thumbs up, that is. Maybe you can elaborate on that bit for us? The reporter leverages story, gets his interview, end quote. Exactly what sort of story was this? Oh, a little one, like I said. Nothing more, nothing less. Nothing in between, end quote. I might have suggested I had a lead on this particular story. But I didn't threaten, or cajole, or nothing, honest. So a suggestion was enough to get an interview. Mr. Mission must have really wanted to keep it under wraps. The story concerned a certain case from 7 years ago. A certain case 7 years ago? Tell us, what case? Let me say one thing, Mr. Attorney, and you can quote me on this. I can't talk about that case. Why not? It's about journalistic pride and staunchness, and credibility, and connections. A journalist reveals sources only over his dead body, end quote. So, what'll it be? You gonna strangle me? Dead men don't tell tales, Mr. Attorney. He sounds pretty determined not to talk. The chances of breaking his will aren't looking good. That red envelope probably had something to do with it. On the one hand, we have your story, and on the other hand, this letter. What makes you think the two are related? Oh, I was just saying it's possible. Called reporter's intuition, end quote. Hey, I say a lot of things. You're going to pick all of them apart? Be my guest. All of them? No, just the incredibly suspicious ones. I see. Anything else to add about Mr. Mission? Say what you will, but Drew's talent was without compare. Just so amazing was Mr. Mission's talent. Huh? Ooh, wee boy, I mean, hey, he's a star, man, a star. The flow of his brush is like a great undulating river across the canvas. Artists paints light up, studio like sun, end quote. This guy's full of wacky gestures, but that one just now was wackier than usual. Looks kind of nervous to me, Apollo. Definitely. I'm sensing something different than before here. Maybe it's time to bring out you-know-what. That testimony left a bad taste in my mouth. It all makes sense. Nothing jumps out as ridiculous. I wonder what this story he's talking about is. It must have been good to get an interview with a famous recluse like that. Something powerful enough to drag Drew Mission out of hiding. I wonder. Maybe it had something to do with Mr. Mission's art. I know it's his armpits, but I don't remember which one. I'm gonna hear again, because I did not see. Okay, it's not this one then. Not here. I don't think it's the other side because that's blocked. Yep. So what much, Mr. Brushel?
Yeah, well, a man can't help his glands, you know?
It's more than that. When Mr. Misham's talent was mentioned, he suddenly began to sweat buckets.
Ah!
You're hiding something about his talent.
What? That's ridiculous.
Evidence time. Let's show where Mr. Misham's true talent lay. Just so happens I have evidence showing the talent mentioned in that letter. Do I show this or one of these? Do I show this or? This painting was found in Mr. Misham's studio. There are two problems with this painting. The first is it wasn't painted by Mr. Misham. The second is that there was another painting in the studio, which looked exactly like this one, except it was only half done. Then we have a letter discussing a payment of $100,000, which suggests a certain business operation. The business of making forgeries. That is all, Your Honor.
Everyone, please, everyone. Can we keep this private, please? This is my story, my scoop. Forgery? That's a serious crime. Misham is known as an artist these days, but there were rumors he dabbled in another kind of art until a few years back. Another art, meaning forgery? Misham was talented, alright. Talented at making precise, detailed fakes. A fact that certain criminal elements were quick to discover.
Criminal elements? What? You can't seriously be talking about.
Exactly. I'm talking about forging evidence. The rumor started circulating 7 years ago. 7 years ago? So, are we to understand that this letter, this payment of $100,000 was for... Exactly. Forged evidence nets tidy profit, end quote. Order, order, order! Why, it's like our victim was living a double life.
Aha! This is my chance. So the victim had ties to the criminal world, right? He could have had plenty of enemies we know nothing about.
This is my first time hearing of this criminal world. We certainly found no criminal connections when we conducted our investigation.
But how do you explain all this money? You have to admit there's a possibility of some illegal activity here.
But there is no proof tying this letter to our case. It's addressed to him! Our case was and remained simple from the beginning. Only the defendant could have poisoned that mug that night. And you, of course.
Hey, the only thing I poison is my pen when I'm writing reviews.
Mr. Brushel, your testimony to this point has been quite unreliable. It doesn't speak well of your reporting acumen.
What are you talking about? My journalism is rock solid. Journalism so solid you could stand an elephant on it, end quote.
In any case, let's hear a summarized recap of your testimony. If we can ascertain the situation in that studio from the recap, the trial is over.
Paolo, what's he talking about?
The cross-examination showed Mr. Burchell didn't have reason or means to poison him. As long as there's no other suspects. And the killer had to be Vera. That's what. This next testimony is our last chance.
Mr. Brushel, your testimony, please.
Witness testimony, the interview, a recap. The only other person in the studio that night was the defendant. It was Vera who poured the coffee. She admitted as much herself. The only thing that touched Drew's lips during the interview was that mug. Nothing left that studio after he died. Nothing. Clearly, the only one who could have poisoned him was his daughter. A nice testimony. Clear, succinct, and without room for doubt. Ah, shucks. You really think so?
I believe this clarifies the situation that night. Very well, Mr. Justice. You may begin your final cross-examination.
Right. I still have one trump card left to play. And I won't let this trial end until I use it.
The only other person in the studio that night was the defendant.
That doesn't prove Vera poisoned it.
Objection!
How many times have you heard that one, Airforehead? The poison reached its victim via that coffee mug. And from where did that coffee come from, Not to beat a dead horse again and again, but perhaps you could fill us in. I'm on it. You need a horse beat? I'm your man. It was Vera who poured the coffee. She's admitted as much herself.
And you witnessed her pouring the coffee.
Of course I didn't witness it. When she came in with that tray, the coffee was already poured and steaming. Let us not forget the defendant had admitted to pouring the coffee herself. I heard her statement. I poured, I served, and I killed.
What?
That last part was just a little joke. Clavier, you can't say that. I feel like just him saying that would get this case thrown out.
I don't think I'm going to get anywhere with this coffee mug. I need to find another weak spot in this case.
The only thing that touched Drew's lips during the interview was that mug.
You're sure about that?
Well, to be really precise, I was busy gobbling mint candies the whole time.
One of those candies might have been poisoned!
Yet, at the time of the autopsy, no fresh fragrance of mint filled the room, and no mint residue was found.
It was a long shot anyway.
Don't tell me you're still trying to prove this. You think the victim ate, drank, or otherwise ingested something other than coffee?
Well, Mr. Justice, if you have some proof.
Possibility is there, I can feel it. Just maybe not prove it. Not yet. And possibility isn't going to cut it. Not now. Mr. Misham ingested that poison via a route other than coffee. Via a route other than that coffee. It can't be proven.
I do believe our little forehead is growing up. Pity, we like the values for a forehead best.
Another hole in this case that needs plugging before I can prove anything. But first things first, I'd better uncover a weak spot before I try to strike again.
On with the cross-examination.
Nothing left that studio after he died. Nothing.
Not one thing. You're sure?
Yep, as sure as can be. Well, with one exception.
One exception. What? Journalist Spark Brushel does interview, leaves studio. End quote. Ah! Come on! It's a joke, get it? Not funny, I know, but still.
Did something leave the studio that night? Why does that sound familiar? Or have I heard something like that before?
Now that we've proven our witness is a comedian of sorts.
Oh. Ah. Fuck.
I'd like to attend to our defense attorney before returning to the testimony. Did you have any idea what, if anything, might have left the studio that night?
I think one thing might very well have left the studio that night, actually. A certain something that has vanished from the crime scene.
By which you mean? Something other than our witness?
Of course. Don't tell me. Van Nisham? Believe me, any comic relief I may provide is entirely unintentional.
Then let's see what you've got for us, Mr. Justice.
Well, this thing wasn't at the scene of the crime, so I can't show you.
Ow.
But I do have evidence that shows how it could have been taken from the scene. Taken from the scene. This is the only link between that studio and the outside world.
A letterbox?
What did Mr. Brushel just tell us? When he entered the studio on the night of the murder, the victim had just finished writing a letter.
Yeah, I said that. And yeah, it was true.
Furthermore, you went on to tell us that he put the letter in a yellow envelope and put it in the letterbox.
Ah!
But that very same letterbox was empty. In other words, that night the yellow envelope disappeared.
Ah, yes, intriguing. So an envelope has disappeared from the scene of the crime. Of course, this changes nothing.
Huh?
He has a point, Mr. Justice. What we're trying to figure out here is how the poison got into Mr. Misham. Is it really important that this envelope, the witness says he saw, disappeared?
Well, if it did disappear, then something did leave the studio that night. That seems very important to me.
Very well then. The witness will add this to his testimony. You got it. I still think this fails to change anything, our foreheads.
I wouldn't be so sure. A letter disappeared from the crime scene that night. This is exactly the opening I've been looking for.
The letter was put in the post from the studio, but I hardly think that matters.
Nothing could be more serious than an envelope disappearing from that studio. And you were hiding that fact from us.
Yes, well, actually. I don't argue if it's a possibility that a letter disappeared from the studio. But our forehead, isn't a much more serious question before us?
Right. How Mr. Misham was poisoned, I know. But Mr. Brushel's testimony has changed, which means the facts of the case have changed. They have too. And what he told us means something entirely different now. I'm starting to think.
Let's keep thinking, Apollo. Clearly, the only one who could have poisoned him was his daughter.
You say clearly as though it were obvious. This claim that the defendant poisoned the victim is merely conjecture.
Ah, yes, well, you see, In my business, it's all about making the most ridiculous things sound right. A bad habit, I know. Yes, well, actually, I guess this is more a case of ridiculous journalist. Sounds wrong, end quote. The court is supposed to agree with you. Please refrain from wild conjecture. Understood loud and clear.
If only I could believe that.
What do you think, Apollo? Everything he's saying seems so not flawed.
Well, that's kind of what you want from a testimony, really. I need to keep my eye on what matters. How and why was Drew Mission killed? Bear poured the coffee. That's not going to change. But if that coffee didn't kill him, I need to find out what did and prove it. You're sure about that? Okay. Bum 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 bum. Proof is possible. Here goes nothing.
You do understand what we need, yeah? Proof, Airforehead, not possibilities.
Of course. And Prosecutor Gavin, I hope you understand. I'm ready to give you that proof.
What did you say?
I have proof of the disappearing envelope.
I saw him writing a letter, I did. Which was picked up by the mailman, I assume.
Of course. Which means that envelope had a stamp on it.
A stamp? Ah!
As we all know, stamps come with dried glue on the back. In order to use the glue, you have to wet it by licking the stamp.
No one was talking to actually lick stamps in this day and age.
Even if you wanted to talk to him, you couldn't. He's dead after all.
Okay, so he licked the stamp. But wait. How does that explain the atropine on the rim of the coffee mug?
If he licked the back of a poisoned stamp, the poison would get on his tongue, yes? What would then happen if he put the coffee mug to his mouth,
Fuck.
Those traces on the mug weren't the killer's doing. It was the other way around.
What?
The coffee mug didn't poison Mr. Misham. Mr. Misham poisoned the coffee mug himself.
Order! But that doesn't... does it?
Recall, if you would. Atropine is a slow-acting poison, yes? The poison entered his body when he put the stamp on that envelope. But his time wasn't up until the very moment he touched his lips to that cup of joe.
You have something to add, Mr. Brashel?
Uh-oh. His nose is picking up another scent.
As I believe I mentioned earlier. Well, that's the thing, see? After he put his letter in that envelope, Mr. Mission sat there searching his desk drawer for something. Yes, a stamp. A so-called postage stamp, end quote. But you know, I don't seem to remember him ever finding one. Maybe he just ran out. Incidentally, we searched the desk drawer at the scene of the crime. There were no stamps. Not a single one. That does pose a problem. How will you prove that the stamp was coated with poison?
Actually, I'm glad no other stamps were found. Makes proving the stamp he used was poisoned possible.
Good show. You can't even prove there was a stamp at the scene in the first place. Well, let's hear what the defense has to say anyway. Where's your evidence that proves the existence of this poisoned stamp? Well, that certainly is a cute little frame. And by little, I mean really little.
It was on the victim's desk, Your Honor. Quite empty, as you can see for yourself.
I noticed that too during my inspection. So that.
Apparently you weren't as observant as you should have been. You see, when you saw this frame, it was missing something quite important.
Missing something?
Yes, a pale bluish stain on the inside of the frame. Atropine residue.
What? Why wasn't I told about this?
The frame is only 2 inches square. The face of the frame is even smaller. Maybe an inch wide at most.
You are insane.
Oh, but I am. Tell me, what fits in such a small frame? A commemorative stamp, perhaps?
Order! The poison stamp was in this frame!
Impossible.
But Prosecutor Gavin, why would he put something like that on his desk? Don't tell me he had it there so he could commit suicide if the mood struck. You know, can I say something? I have a thought, see? What, Mr. Brushel, please stop jittering around like that. The victim was a forger, right? That's a lot of money in that line of work. Forger forges friends, makes enemies too. End quote.
But the poison stamp might have been a murder weapon aimed at him.
Oh, rich. That's rich. Leave the ridiculous flights of fancy to the governor's song lyrics, please.
Finally, something we agree on.
The stamp was a murder weapon. Nonsense. Murder is a simple business. Who would go to such lengths? No one.
Have you seen a case in any of these games, Clavier? Have you seen any case in the Ace Attorney franchise? Yes, they fucking would. Oh, I disagree.
Come again?
Recall, if you would, the victim's reclusive lifestyle. Drew Misham hid from the world. He avoided meetings. His only contact with the outside world was the mail.
That mail?
Now, if you wanted to kill someone you couldn't meet, but you knew read letters, a stamp would be the perfect weapon.
Ridiculous. Where's your proof? I want proof. Show us evidence that this poison stamp was sent to him as a murder weapon.
I might not have evidence per se. But things are finally starting to come together.
What is it, Apollo? Your fists are trembling.
I think I know what happened. I don't believe it, but I can see it. I think I know why, I know how Mr. Mission was killed.
Well, fill us in, Mr. Justice.
A certain piece of evidence points to the truth, Your Honor. I can show you how someone with the intent to kill sent Mr. Misham the stamp of death.
This, I think. Isn't this the envelope? The one from 7 years ago?
Think about the text of the letter again. There were 2 pages in the envelope. This is page 1. And this is page 2. I want to draw your attention to one phrase in particular. Send in the enclosed envelope with the enclosed stamp within 3 days. The enclosed stamp, Your Honor. The enclosed stamp, Your Honor.
Ah! In other words, if I have this straight, the stamp, poison, on the stamp, lick, lick, gasp, end quote.
Now, what if he had done exactly as the letter asked?
He would sign the document, put it in the envelope, and put the stamp on it, right? Then he would put it in his letterbox.
15 minutes wouldn't have elapsed between affixing the stamp and mailing the letter. The clock started ticking, and when that time came, he drew his last breath. And the murder weapon would have taken away from the scene. Would be taken away from the scene.
Quite conveniently, thanks to the postal system.
I have to give props to whoever animated that. That's so good.
Such a splendid imagination you have, airforeheads. Let me confirm one thing with you, if I might. So, this poison stamp was inside this envelope from 7 years ago. Yeah. Is that what you'd have us believe? Really?
Well,
It is a little bit of a stretch, but there's a possibility.
yes, a very small possibility. How small, I wonder? A poison stamp in this envelope. A stamp that then becomes a murder weapon. How do you intend to prove this seeming coincidence?
Well,
it was 7 years ago. We don't even know who sent that letter.
And your answer is silence. I see. Very well. I move to... It's not nice to pick on the Fraulein, Clavia. Emma. Okay, I really hate how this... How we're reminded of Kristoff, because what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? Like, you could have just have him be mentioned by name. Like, come on. Come on. Could have just done that. Please. Please.
Emma.
well, like my Christoph Gavin impression. Did I sound like him?
Don't quit your day job.
Don't you have a crime scene to be looking after, Fraulein Detective?
Someone had to come dig you all out of this mess you're making of this case.
Mess.
You know, none of this would have happened if you just trusted in science a little more. You can find out if that stamp was in that envelope easy.
Care to explain yourself, Fraulein Detective?
Glare at me all you want, but science is on my side. It's all in the residue, right?
That's right. The poison detection spray.
Produce the red envelope at once. You can open it on the authority of the court.
But wouldn't it be on where the stamp was?
Oh, it's on there? What? Huh? What? You don't put the stamp in the envelope, what? You put it on the envelope, huh? Well, would you look at that?
No mistaking it. That's atroquinine residue.
I don't believe it. Another weapon from the past. Now, 7 years later, it bears its fangs at last. Absolutely outrageous. Tell me why. Why didn't this murder take place 7 years ago?
Well,
There's one possibility. Maybe Mr. Mission figured it out.
Figured what out?
He realized that the person who sent that letter wanted him dead. So he sent his reply with a different stamp.
And he put his decisive evidence in a frame.
who's this?
Hold it! Ah, you're still here.
Can I make a statement here on the record? I, Spark, Razor Toothbrush, claim this scoop as mine. Drew Mission killed in cold blood. By sender of 7-year-old letter, end quote. No, maybe something more 16. Star falls after 7 years delay, end quote.
Let's set the time threshold.
Order, order, order. I see no room for further argument here.
Though, I admit, this is all coming as quite a shock. To think that the murder weapon reached his mouth after 7 years. Stamp his ticket straight to afterlife, end quote.
Uh-oh, I think the witness is a bad influence on our judge.
I see no need for further debate on this matter. The sender of that letter 7 years ago could hardly have been our defendant.
Apollo?
I think we just won.
Very well. This court finds the defendant.
Is this the right future of our legal system?
Prosecutor, Gavin.
A ticket to the afterlife from 7 years ago. Tickets for Governor's shows are invalid after 2 weeks.
But it doesn't make sense in any other way.
Also, Your Honor, you're not the one making the ruling in this case, Mr. Your Honor, sir. It boggles my mind that so many people haven't noticed this.
There's a fatal contradiction in our forehead's claim.
A contradiction?
A poison stamp was placed in this envelope 7 years ago, whereupon it was framed until now. If that's the case, then why would your mission have done what he did?
I'm gonna explain that. You must have realized it was poisoned.
Therein lies the rub. 7 years ago, the forger Joe Mission sensed a trap and put the stamp in a frame. I do not debate this, but this begs the question. Why, 7 years later, did he use that stamp on the night of the murder? Surely you don't mean to suggest that Mr. Mission simply forgot. He put the murder weapon in a frame on his desk for 7 years, and forgot?
You expect us to believe he sprang the trap on himself? While I admit this is quite shocking myself, it does seem highly unlikely that he would fall afoul of a trap that had been sitting on his desk for 7 years.
Apollo?
I don't think we're winning anymore.
I'm glad to see we're all back in the real world now.
Welcome back to reality. We've been waiting for you.
Okay, then how to explain the poison stamp that was in this envelope?
The poison stamp? Where exactly is this poison stamp again? Have you brought it to the court for us?
There was atropine poisoning on it!
No, there's atropine on it. Oh my god. I see no proof that such a thing ever existed.
Found the residue. What about the atropine residue, huh?
Oh, I agree, that does seem to be atropine residue. But our foreheads, it's certainly no stamp.
What about what's in... Yeah, but...
Even if your precious poison stamp did exist, your mission never would have used it. That is all.
I believe we've come to a conclusion, again.
Apollo? Were we wrong the whole time?
I can't believe it. The poison traces match up. It can't be a coincidence.
I'd like to bring some closure to this issue, sometime this year. Mr. Justice.
Yes, Your Honor.
Let's review the facts and see where we stand. 7 years ago, your mission received a red envelope. There were traces of the poison atropine on the document inside that envelope. A similar trace was also found at the crime scene. On this tiny picture frame. The defense has indicated the possibility of a yellow envelope. An envelope that left the scene of the crime with a poison stamp on it.
Yes, but even if this envelope contained a poison stamp, and your mission, knowing this, put it in a frame, they never would have used that stamp.
I'm afraid you're right. Which means there is a fatal flaw in the defense's case.
I haven't been on the wrong track this whole time, I'm sure of it. The traces of atroquinine, the envelope, the frame, and Drew Misham's mysterious death. They're all connected somehow.
Well, Mr. Justice, do you have a conclusion for us?
The defense stands by its case, Your Honor. We've seen that the logical outcome of the evidence makes no sense. Which means that one of our clues must be a fake.
Ah, a fake clue. Fascinating. And if we find this clue, your wild fantasies will prove quite reasonable, yeah?
The fake clue that's thrown us off the poison's trail is none other than...
The victim was a fake clue? I'm afraid I don't understand.
I'll explain. We have an envelope, a frame, and a mug linked by a person. That all makes sense. What doesn't make sense is the victim himself.
Objection!
Congratulations, you've completely lost me. So the fake evidence is none other than the master of fake himself, the forger. It makes a good story, I'll give you that.
The fake clue. Fakes. Forgeries. Ah!
You know that face? That's the I just had an idea face.
I don't know if I'm right, but I'm going with it anyway. What if our forger is the fake?
Come again?
7 years ago, our forger sniffed a trap and stepped aside. 7 years passed. Now the forger stumbles into that very same trap and dies. Why?
That's what I want to know.
Because the forger who was killed was a fake.
Here we go again. The victim was a fake.
One forger smelled the trap. One forger fell into the trap. That's two forgers, and one of them was a fake.
Order, order, order! So, you're telling us that Drew Misham's victim was a fake? Well, if he was a fake, who was the real forger? You better not be claiming there was some kind of switcheroo. I'm afraid you're going to have to back up your story. Mr. Justice, show us just who the real Drew Misham was.
Drew Misham wasn't the real forger. There's only one other person it could have been. Understood, Your Honor. Forger Drew Misham was himself a forger. The real forger was... There can be only one explanation, really. The real identity of the forger known as Drew Misham is none other than his only daughter, Vera Misham.
Order, order, order! Mr. Justice, this is going out on a limb even for you.
I kind of agree. I mean, Vera, a forger?
Let's consider it before you write it off entirely. If you look at the paintings in the studio, one fact becomes quite clear. Forgery has been taking place in the studio for quite some time. The forger wasn't caught in that trap 7 years ago. This can only mean that the one who was caught in that trap wasn't the forger.
Well, actually, it does make a certain amount of sense.
One more thing. Only 2 sets of fingerprints are found in this forger's studio. Drew missions and Vera missions. If we know that Drew mission wasn't the forger, that leaves only one possibility by process of elimination. The forger was Vera Mission. Well,
Fascinating. Vera mission. You've been paying attention to the trial so far. Let's just ask her and be done with it, shall we? Who are you? Who is the forger? Drew mission.
was that an expression of emotion I just saw? She's staring holes into Prosecutor Gavin's face.
I'm used to being stared at by Frauleins. Believe me. So they usually talk to me too. Tell us. Were you the one who forged these works of art? Yes. So the forger Drew mission was you? Yes, it was me.
The court was in an uproar. It wasn't coming down. We had to break for a 10-minute recess.
To be continued. Okay, so we will continue this, we will continue this case next time. Sorry, I've been a little distracted. We will cross-examine Vera next time. It's still like another court part. So yeah, I'll see you then. Bye-bye!